let's talk about Power Rangers. Let's talk about the earnings call that's been going on, that has happened. So this is kind of interesting. Every quarter, Hasbro will have this investors like earnings conference call, which will basically give information on where all the brands are doing. Are they doing really well? What could be better? What is the percentage and stuff like that? And that's normally what kind of happens. Last time I think we heard about this, they mentioned Power Rangers, but they were still saying that it was an emerging brand, etc., etc. And again, I don't think there was much to it. They kind of just like brushed over it, which again is standard for that sort of stuff. But they've kind of given a little bit more information. This is coming from the Illuminati. This has been posted around as well, so we're going to kind of talk about a few things. Today at the Hasbro's third quarter 2023 earnings conference call, Cox did the unthinkable, detailing its growth despite its impairment. Hasbro faced this year in addition to the strikes in Hollywood, as well as their commitment to Power Rangers. And this is what was said. So again, I think this is more paraphrasing, but it says, in the entertainment segment, revenues fell 40%, mainly due to the strikes by actors, writers, partially offsetting. We saw 53% growth in family brands driven by sales, Peppa Pig and Power Rangers content. Our direct-to-consumer business has grown 57% year to date in 2023. Hasbro Pulse is the modest-sized platform today, but is still growing rapidly, providing new ways to delight their fans and learn from our customers. We are excited to continue developing our direct incentives behind brands like Star Wars, Marvel, Transformers, Magic, G.I. Joe, D&D, and Power Rangers. So there's no R. One of the best brand lineups in the collectibles universe. Now, I don't know if that is something that's taken from the actual call or this was a statement that was given out earlier. Like, you know, kind of, this is what he wrote down and etc, etc. Now, I will say that mostly through this year, because obviously Power Rangers is now going away for a year or so, or until the reboot. Cosmic Fury was probably one of the better ones to kind of go with, so it kind of added a little bit more. So everyone is going to be watching it because they wanted to kind of give it a send-off, or they just generally really enjoyed it because it was actually a really good series. You had Once and Always as well that actually did really well, and that brought in kind of the old school fans back. And again, I think that Power Rangers is doing really well. It's just that they don't really kind of, at times I think they don't believe in it. Like, oh shit, the Netflix stuff's through. Holy crap, that's actually a really good thing. Hot darn. So I feel like Chris could have said a little bit more about it. Now, obviously, Peppa Pig is going to be one of the biggest things because pretty much every single kid, or mostly every single kid, loves Peppa Pig, and you can see it in sales as well as loads of stuff that's been happening. So I feel like that would be a big thing right there at the same time. Carrying on, it says it's surprising to know Power Rangers is a priority for Hasbro. For a while, it did not seem like that was the case. Marketing for the brand has been underwhelming and inconsistent. It also is worth mentioning that the Lightning Collection is shutting down, as we've previously reported, but does that mean Hasbro is done with the rights to the Power Rangers? Absolutely not. It just indicates that they know they have a problem that needs to be fixed. I feel like that's also around the entire Lightning Collection from the quality control. Like, the series has been pretty decent and there's more to it that you can do, obviously with the reboot. But when it comes to the quality control, like we've talked about it multiple times on the channel, and it does affect it because people just get tired, like, oh, why am I going to buy this? Or why did you release the like Cobra Kai stuff? It to me baffles me because sometimes there doesn't seem to be thinking like, oh, I watched Cobra Kai last night and I really enjoyed it, so we're going to work with them to create this, when effectively more people just wanted more figures. So the last part on here before we look at something else says Power Rangers is not leaving Hasbro and there are no plans to sell or give up any of the franchise brands for that matter. When asked if there were any plans to prune any of the brands, Cox had something reassuring to say. Our franchise brands are essential to the company and are linked to the main categories. In action figures, you have Transformers and secondly Power Rangers. Now, that's kind of interesting because with considering how much the brand has with, like, say, Transformers. When you think of Hasbro, that is the main thing right there. You instantly think of Transformers. So seeing that Power Rangers is second to it, considering where you have Marvel, D&D and all that, even though they could be kind of like, oh, we'll have that to the side. Seeing that Power Rangers is kind of secondary, it just means, did they have a really good year with actually the toys? So that kind of adds more to it. And obviously they're going to say something because we have the reboot, as obviously the article says. So I'm interested to see how Power Rangers is going to perform. And I feel like maybe now they're taking it and saying like, oh, okay, maybe we should actually work with it because this would be a cool brand to work with. But we'll see kind of after the reboot, like if it's just going to be piled up or if it's going to be poo. This is from Rangeboard. We've had pretty much most of the stuff originally from there in the actual article, so this kind of adds a little bit more to it, and this is what Big Smile says. So again, you got the 840 mark where they talk about the brand, and it's like, the brand isn't dead. I guess by direct incentives they mean Hasbro Pulse, which would be a good thing, because now when you kind of think about it, all the stuff that you get from Hasbro Pulse is from them. Like most companies, apart from major, say the Entertainer over here in the UK, you know, those sorts of things, like actual toy stores are going to be like the only other place that you can get it. Some websites, like say Pumpkin Cocktails, In Demand Toys over here, sometimes don't actually have the newest stuff because Hasbro effectively won't sell it to them or something, which is kind of annoying because it's interesting to go through them sometimes, and the way that Hasbro Pulse is, it can be a little bit annoying. But most of the fact is that everything is being directed from the website, so they can obviously make money that way rather than going through someone else. Looking at this part here, the entertainment segment, etc., it says, so Power Rangers is actually one of the revenue generating highlights in the declining entertainment division. The slide of this section had an image of the CF logo, so Cosmic Fury logo, so it's very interesting to see they had it, and it would be kind of cool to see pictures. Action figures, which is at the 30-minute and 46 seconds mark. Question asks about turnaround in consumer products. Chris Cox replies, and again I'm paraphrasing, our franchise brands are core to the company and are tied to the key categories in action, etc, etc. He talks about how Transformers is an example of a case study on how to do media tie-ins. So Power Rangers is still considered a secondary action figure brand. I don't know, again, is this a really, really good thing? Now, there's been like no marketing for anything for Power Rangers, and we know because Simon, I think, mentioned that pretty much everyone had been let go, so there wasn't a lot around. So when you kind of think about all of this, it's, well, you know, could Power Rangers itself actually be decent again? Like if we had more time to put into the promotional side and do more, would it have actually performed better? So I'm hoping that Hasbro in general now will be looking and going, okay, well, we need to work on this, we need to kind of add a bit more to it. Otherwise, it's, you know, it's just going to be stale. Like every single Ranger fan knew about Cosmic Fury, where to watch it, and they obviously did watch it, hence why it's become quite good. At the moment, with it being a secondary brand, I'm not going to complain too much because at least they're acknowledging it, and it's not Power Ranger what? What? I just think they need a lot more time to focus on it and actually have a department on this rather than to say some person that gets stuff wrong on Twitter. So Big Smile continues with, probably best not to get excited. They mentioned that toy sales for the whole industry are declining and toy production costs are increasing. So as they've said in the past, they want to scale back on toys they produce and focus more on the franchise brands, which PR is not one of. Then again, acknowledge that scaling back is hurting profits, but they feel it's essential for a long-term turnaround. But in the past, earnings calls completely ignored Power Rangers, so at least we've got crumbs. It's slightly better than nothing. Now, I think the declining stuff is because when we get these toys, they're not to the standards of what they are. Like, we are paying a premium price. If you're paying $30 to $40 for a toy, I want it to be decent. Look at how Japan does it with their toys. I'm not just saying fig arts or whatever, but when you get a toy from Japan, it actually feels decent. You know, it feels like, oh my god, this is actually a decent toy. With fig arts, like, they're expensive, but they're toys that will hold their value, that look decent, that actually are painted properly. But when you look at Hasbro toys, like say even with like Marvel or anything like that, it just feels like it's cheap. Like, you've bought this figure for $30 to $35 to $40, and all of a sudden it's just cheap plastic. And it's a whole big thing of where Hasbro doesn't go to the right factories to get a decent product. You would see that maybe toys would increase the sales for that at least if we actually had decent products and not, oh, this arm is half painted, whoops-a-daisy, well, I now have to return this, and then suddenly you don't know if the head is going to pop off of a figure that is going to be hard to put back in, or the item isn't painted. So when I kind of hear this and see it, I can understand the reason why everything is dropping. But when you have other toys like, say, Marvel, you have like the same thing over and over again. And again, Hasbro does this with Power Rangers. How many Mighty Morphin figures have we had when compared to, like, say, other parts of the team? I'm kind of glad that we've got at least Power Rangers being mentioned in this. I feel like at least they're acknowledging it, and they're going to take some time. I just don't want this to be we're taking a year, maybe 2 years off, and then things aren't as great. And maybe they should just focus on the brand rather than, hey, this is a commercial, we've got to sell the toys, that's the only thing right there. That, I think, would absolutely hurt it. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that Power Rangers can make a comeback later on? Or do you think that this is kind of it? You know, we'll get something, but not as good as it was. Let me know down below in the comments. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for being here. I really do appreciate it. If you want to help out support the channel, then take like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Why not check out the Patreon or the YouTube channel memberships? Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. I want to say a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters, and I wanted to shout out Kimono Cat, Kira Stanada, Micah Baldwin. Your help goes a long way to help support the channel, and if you want to help support the channel, the links to my Patreon and channel memberships are listed below in the description.
あらあら、チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとう。チャンネル登録、高評価お願い。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができるよ。